Hey everyone, this is Josh from before. I was at Target and I'm walking toward the DC Batman section and there were a bunch of people with carts all in that aisle and they were coming right at me and I was like, nope. So I swung down the Hot Wheels aisle to flank them, and sitting there amongst the Hot Wheels tucked away, someone had stashed She-Spawn. So apologies to whoever stashed it there, but the toy gods decided to bestow upon me the gift of McFarlane Toys, She-Spawn. And I paid tribute to the toy gods by giving Target $40. The front of the box looks good. I don't love this on the back. There's just a ton of empty space, and I can't help but think that they should be using some of this space to credit all the artists that work on these toys, because much like an issue of a comic book, this is a moment in time, and for better or worse, we'll be looking back upon toys released during this era in the years to come. So it would just be nice to give the folks that worked on it a little bit of credit. Like I said, $40, similar to the way Clown was in Wave 1, but instead of the big gun pack that Clown came with, she has a ton of different weapons, which is great because now I can give some of these weapons to other characters. I much prefer this package to Clown's gun backpack, which was cool and all, but ultimately unnecessary. I just prefer displaying the figure in a way that shows off his short, squat shape, and this kind of just gets in the way of that. She-Spawn, I can't believe I found this. I had it pre-ordered through Walmart, had it pre-ordered through Amazon, both delayed multiple times, and managed to come through with a win in the store. This is one of my most anticipated figures of 2022, so buckle in, we are going to be here for a while. I'm a big fan of Jessica Priest. When I started reading Spawn, it had been running for a year or two already, and I never read Youngblood. So Chapel was cool and all, but I didn't have a particular attachment. And then so when they retconned kind of Spawn's origin and replaced Chapel with Jessica Priest, I was on board for it. And the first appearance of Jessica Priest is one of my favorite Spawn pages of all time, from issue 61. It's not the most mind-blowing page in the world. It's definitely not fine art. I just appreciate the layout. I just like the Al Simmons falling to heck through the eye of the skull, and the smoke from his charred soul is mixing with the smoke from the gun barrel that Jessica Priest is holding, and she's standing on the skull. It's just badass. It's just classic Capullo. I love it. And I think making her the next She-Spawn makes perfect sense as far as an evolution for the character. All right, enough yapping. Time to open it up. All right, I'm going to save the 360 view for once we've got our accessories out. Let's start with the up close and just take a look at this great looking figure. Really great looking head. The paint on the head is excellent. And then this hair, which obviously defies physics and gravity. The hair looks impressive enough as it is, but when you actually start to kind of move it around and see how many kind of different layers of different things going on, is really cool how they constructed it. It is this kind of soft, rubbery plastic. Probably going to catch a ton of dust, but it looks cool as hell. Curious to kind of see what happens when you turn her head, what that hair can do. Obviously, it's going to restrict some poses just by the way it's constructed, but you actually are able to turn that head pretty well. It's less encumbered by the hair and more just because it covers that side of the head so much that you're going to have to favor that side, essentially. Really love this Aeon Flux style half jacket. Very hot. The biggest cosmetic gripes I have are some of these details, like the chains and especially the shoulder pad. It doesn't quite feel, and maybe part of that is the paint. The details don't feel quite as crispy, and you compare it to the way they executed these shoulder pads on this Death Metal Wonder Woman. Kind of wish that had held up closer to this. And actually, it's kind of good that I have this Wonder Woman because one of the things I enjoy about picking up McFarlane figures is that over time they evolve. They don't just say, oh yeah, you know, that works well enough, call it a day, and never try anything new. They're constantly trying to evolve and try different techniques. So a lot of female figures, like from the Multiverse line, have been this soft, unbroken torso piece, which cosmetically is great, but as far as playability, it is not as good. So they've been messing around with approaches like this that don't look quite as good because they have more cuts in them, but they're far less rigid and have a lot more posability. They've gone with the more articulated torso for She-Spawn, and I think it's going to work in favor of the playability and fun factor, but it does take a little bit of a hit right here. The cuts, they are what they are. They tried to cover with this chain a little bit, but can't mistake the fact that the M is broken up, and it's going to do that if you rotate her. Pretty great movement on the arms. This skull shoulder thing is attached to the bicep, so it rotates with that. If you get her hair freed up, you got plenty of room to rotate, and you don't feel like it's running against its own self. Double elbows that get more than 90 before you even engage the second articulation point there. Great movement. No ball joints. The wrist articulation is sculpted in, so if you do that, you're going to get this fairly ugly looking. Not as bad as in that direction. I do prefer a ball joint because you can cock it that way, but it can't all be perfect. Tons of leg clearance with this soft pelvis piece. Doesn't really rotate at the hip with her legs down. Gets a little bit more rotation when you lift the legs up. I really like on the white pieces how they are this raised and textured material. It just makes them pop a bit more. It's a nice element that breaks up the colors and the silhouette. Nice little details on here. A little bit of paint on it. More great details down at the feet. Double knees. She can get her legs all the way up to her butt, which is really very well sculpted. A lot of attention was paid to executing that. Love these spikes, very biker feeling. I'll throw her on a motorcycle here in a little bit, but let's get her arsenal out. All right, she's got a huge arsenal of weapons that all have great paint on them. Here's this big spear, axe, club, what have you. Very cool, very impractical looking. Another extremely impractical, yet very finely detailed, bladed weapon. I mean, she's from Heck. They want their shit to look cool and scary. Yeah. Here's an extremely kitted out SMG. Forgive me if I'm calling this the wrong thing. I love how she's got doubled up clips there. Swap those out quick and easy. Obviously they don't come out. It's just a cool look. Asymmetrical details on the side of the gun. You like to see that stuff like that. A huge snipey gun, which is, I mean, as tall as she is. That looks awesome. I like the red fabric. Strips of fabric wrapped around it, around all the weapons. Gives it a little bit of pop of color. Gives it a little bit of femininity. I think it works. And then this huge BFG that has all kinds of attachments on it, and this metal chain. And I appreciate how they wrapped the chain around the gun to sort of inspire you to play with this thing. Because sometimes you get this stuff, we're grown-ups, we're maybe not as in touch with some of the creativity that we had when we were kids when it comes to playtime. And then throwing this on here is like, oh, yeah, right. We all do it. We all see somebody else post something on Instagram or YouTube, and we're like, oh, cool, I had never even thought about doing that. and we copy them. You know, it's just part of it. It's like, oh yeah. So I love it. And this chain can go around anything, and it's longer than she is. Pretty nice length of chain. But the details on this gun are hilarious and bananas. There's an extra pistol swapped in there for no reason, and just the grips on grips on grips, and extra extended clips all thrown in ridiculous spots. This gun is hilarious. Very Spawn. I love it. And one final accessory is this alternate left hand, which works as a gesture hand or to help holding these large weapons. All right, let's start looking at her with her accessories in hand. First off, I got a request on last week's live stream to try to pose her in the Spawn's Universe #1 cover, which, of course, is a J. Scott Campbell piece of artwork that scoffs at human anatomy. So this is the closest I could get, and she's balancing without a stand or anything, obviously. Tried to wrap the chain around there a little bit. Here she is with that massive sniper rifle. And I had to throw her on a hockey puck stand to make this work, just because that gun is so heavy. And holding it up that high really throws off the center of gravity. But don't forget, play with this chain. You know, there's all kinds of nooks and crannies to hang it off of and wrap it around. Make sure you take advantage of that. Here is an attempt at sort of an Angela-esque pose with this big spear axe thing. And this is one where having ball joints in the wrist would have helped a bit to get that to work, but still pretty cool. Definitely leaning on the hockey puck for some of these poses. Here we are in Terminator mode. Definitely leaning on this hockey puck to make these poses work, because these feet are dainty and difficult to balance. And of course, never, anytime you see a loose hanging sort of strappy thing, never pass up an opportunity to hang something in it. Although I must admit, the sword now is covering one of my favorite features. And now finally, with just the knife and standing on her own 2 feet without the hockey puck stand, it can be done. Took a little bit of work, but it can be done. She's cool as hell. Let's compare her to some other figures. Next to the other new figures from Spawn Wave 2, pretty rad. These two are really fantastic. Cygor, unless I can get one of these that has the right arm that is able to actually move, I'm not going to keep Cygor. These two, really dynamite. Here she is next to most of the other figures from Spawn Wave 1. And next to the Violator Megafig and Kickstarter Spawn. Man, the Spawn lineup is filling out. Next to your Mortal Kombat Spawns, if this is who you're working with. She would fit in next to those guys. And next is some of my favorites from way back when. This is Spawn 3, Zombie Spawn, Viking Spawn, and Al Simmons from Total Chaos. And She-Spawn is all about her motorcycle, so let's try her out on the Drifter Bruce Wayne motorcycle from the Matt Reeves movie and the Death Metal Batcycle. So she kind of has some potential like here on this bike, something like that, but the length of her legs and arms make it a little bit more difficult of a fit. Like the legs are a little bit too long to get just kind of right on the peg posts. A little awkward. This one maybe fits a little bit better, still kind of awkward, I think, with the way the legs are gonna fit. I don't know, guys. You tell me if that's working for you. I'm not sure if it's a perfect match. Just don't know if I'm totally buying it. All right, folks, that is She-Spawn. The huge arsenal really does up the fun factor and the potential for display, which is good because they're making you pay extra for it, 40 bucks. So you're going to have to want her pretty bad to pay the extra cost, but I think the dividends are going to pay off if you pick her up. These guys have a lot of mileage. All right, guys. Good luck finding her out there. I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.